Okay, welcome to IGCSE Economics, problem set 5, demand determinants, the things that cause the demand curve to shift to the right or the left. Today's episode is brought to you by Hong Kong Econ Tutor. In case you need an economics tutor for AP Economics, IB Economics, A-level Economics, or of course IGCSE Economics, by all means go to www.hongkongecontutor.com. Which factor is most likely to cause the demand curve for a popular video game to shift to the right? What would cause this popular video game to become even more popular, right? If it's shifting to the right. A decrease in the quality? No. An increase in the price of a substitute game? Yeah, right? So if this is Banjo-Kazooie, and then Donkey Kong Country becomes more expensive, then Banjo-Kazooie is going to become more popular because people aren't going to buy Donkey Kong Country. A decrease in the population of video game players? Nope. An increase in the price of a complementary gaming console? Nope. These would all make it go down except for B, and so the answer is B. Disposable income refers to the amount of money that consumers have after taxation, right? So let's see if any option matches that. Consumers have after taxes to spend on goods and services. Correct. Okay, next one. If a new fashion trend increases the popularity of a certain type of clothing, what happens to the demand curve for that clothing? Well, clearly the demand curve is going to shift outwards, so that would mean it would shift to the right. An inferior good, cup noodles, for example, is a type of good for which the demand either increases when the income goes down or it decreases when income goes up. So let's see if any of these match that. Increases as consumers' income increases? Nope. Decreases as the price of a good decreases? No, right? Because income elasticity is the change in quantity over change in income. That's what we use to figure out if a good is inferior. So it's not just the price. We got to look at income. Increases if the demand increases as consumer income is decreased. Yes, right? So as your income goes down, you buy more cup noodles. Is not affected? No, so it's got to be C. Cup noodles, yay! When two goods are used together, like ping pong balls and ping pong paddles, they are known as complements, right? Complementary goods. They complement each other. Hi, ping pong ball, you're very handsome. Oh, well, thank you, paddle. That's very kind of you. Okay, what does the term demography refer to in economics? I don't know. I've never really seen this in economics. I guess this is an IGCSE thing. But I know that when we talk about demographics, we're talking about culture, we're talking about religion, we're talking about population numbers. So the answer has to be C, the statistical study of human populations, without really looking at the other answers. I should look at the other answers. If the infrastructure in a region improves, making transportation of goods easier, what is likely to happen to the demand curve for these goods? Shifts left, shifts right, stays the same. Shifts right, then left, definitely not D. Actually, because it's infrastructure involves production, right? Infrastructure includes things like roads and bridges and seaports and airports and railway and electricity, right? And grid systems and, waste disposal, all that aids in production. So that would be a supply curve shift. And in this case, the demand curve would not change. And so we would say, and also if it just means that the price of the goods lowers, that would mean it's movement along the curve. It's not a shift. And so we can say that the demand curve would stay the same. Okay. Which of the following is a likely consequence of a significant increase in the price of oil on the demand curve for cars that are fuel inefficient? Okay, so if the price of oil goes up, what happens to the demand curve for cars that are fuel inefficient? Well, if you're fuel inefficient, you're already having a hard time, saving money from your use of fuel. And so if the price of oil and presumably the price of gasoline or petrol becomes more expensive, that's going to hurt those fuel inefficient car owners more. And so we would say the demand would shift inwards or shift left. Okay? When a consumer's income increases, the demand for a normal good will increase, right? Some of this stuff is just common sense. It's just gussied up, but it's common sense. Your income goes up, people buy more tacos. It's a normal good. Effective advertising is likely to shift the demand curve to the right, right? If you sell tomatoes and then you put a big sign up that says, hey, we got tomatoes, and you do some funky graphic design, look at that. Your demand curve for tomatoes increases. If the population in a city grows significantly, what is likely to happen to the housing market's demand curve in that city? It's going to shift out. It's going to shift right, right? So the answer should be C. Now, arguably, I guess you could say that the demand might become more elastic because there'd be more individuals, but that's not actually clear from this, right? Because demand elasticity has to do with substitutes. So that's not a clear answer. So you'd have to make a pretty good argument for that. Actually, maybe that wouldn't work. So let's just go with what's obviously right, which is C. Okay. A decrease in the price of digital cameras, wow, very 2004, would likely have what effect on the demand curve for traditional film cameras? Well, if digital cameras become more attractive because they're lower in price, that's going to mean traditional film cameras are less attractive. So their demand curve will shift left, it will shift inwards. The term substitute goods refers to two or more goods that can replace each other in use or consumption. I used to think that a substitute meant like a teacher that covered when my other teacher was hungover. But, those were the days. Ah, yes. Oh, back when I was a student. A decrease in the price of ebooks is most likely to cause the demand curve for physical books to do what? Well, if ebooks, again, become more attractive because they're lower price, right? There's a big sale on Amazon. Then that means that maybe I was just on the verge of buying a hard copy, Norm Macdonald comedy book. But then I didn't, right? Because, I can get it on Amazon on my Kindle for super cheap. Okay, so this would cause the demand for physical books to shift inwards to the left. How might a decrease in disposable income during an economic recession affect the demand curve for luxury cars? Again, common sense. Income goes down. What happens to the demand for luxury cars? Let me guess. People tighten their belt a little bit. Might be kind of inelastic, though, right? Because rich people are going to buy sports cars no matter what. I don't know. If your portfolio takes a $2 million hit, then maybe you do cut back. Okay, again, thanks, Hong Kong Econ Tutor. Go to www.hongkongecontutor.com if you want a tutor. Okay,